Hello everyone. As we begin today, I ask that each of you take this opportunity to take a look at your cell phones. At any time during this presentation, you may feel at liberty to poke, prod, push and punch at them as you see fit in order to verify any of my claims. However, as you do so, I want to remind you that my objective is to discuss this remarkable piece of tech that is sadly and regularly relegated to our back pockets. How touchscreens function, the history behind them, and the modern resource battles taking place around them will be sure to astound you. The first order of business is how do these work? When you touch your phone with a pencil, an eraser, your coat, they don't respond. But when you use your finger, or even the back of your hand, they snap to attention. After doing some research myself, I asked my family this very same question. How do they work? Some said it was heat, or maybe pressure, or just that you needed a fingerprint. The surprising real answer was electrical conductivity. Yes, we are conductive. Brian Roehrig of the American Chemical Society website concluded back in 2015 that it's primarily due to the mixture of salt and moisture on your fingertips, creating an ionic solution. This makes the entire surface of your skin act as a decent conductive interface. The brilliant inventors of modern cell phones decided to take advantage of this. Now, our phones use something called a capacitive touchscreen. The outermost layer of your phone is actually a transparent conductive material. HP Incorporated employee Sophie Sororis brought forward in a TechTech article that it's using multiple layers of glass and plastic overlaid with indium tin oxide, at least as recently as 2018. This conductor material is laid out into thin strips that are constantly flowing with electricity. When you touch your phone, electricity flowing from the screen is transferred from the screen to whatever conductive appendage you happen to be using. I pray it's your hand. The electricity going through the screen is carefully measured at all times so that any drop in current is immediately noticed. Say, for instance, if I touch the bottom right of my screen, some of the electricity is transferred from the screen to my hand, and it recognizes that it was touched in the bottom right area. This process is far more precise. But this is why it's called a capacitive touchscreen. The screen acts as a capacitor. It stores electricity and releases it to something on contact. Of course, you don't get electrocuted every time you use your phone. It's a very small amount of electricity at play. It's a very sensitive system. It's part of the reason your phones are so expensive. And now that you know how they work, you might be interested in the history behind them. It's pretty remarkable to note that the first capacitive touchscreen debuted only 30 years after the advent of radar. In the words of Mary Bellis, a journalist of ThoughtCo magazine in 2018, it was E.A. Johnson of the Royal Radar Establishment in the UK in 1966 who invented the first capacitive touchscreen. It was initially developed for use in air traffic control systems. Moving to the 1970s, the Elegraph was invented by Sam Hurst of the University of Kentucky. Going by the research done by Mary Bellis, the Elegraph was not a transparent screen like we're familiar with today, but it was still an important first step in touchscreen technology. Into the 1980s, Hewlett-Packard, HP Computer Company, invented their own computer using a touchscreen system. What they did was they took their glass screen and overlaid it with a grid of infrared lasers. What would happen was when you touch the screen, you would pass through and block some of these infrared lasers. When the lasers were blocked, it would be detected by the computer, and a corresponding touch event would take place in the logic systems in the computer on the appropriate location on the computer screen. I thought this was a very clever system, but sadly it didn't really take off. From here on out, the rest is history. Ben Gilbert of Business Insider magazine reminded us in 2019 that it's been more than 12 years since Steve Jobs revealed the first iPhone to the world in 2007. Apple revolutionized the field of mobile devices and gave us the current family of phones we're familiar with today. But in order for these modern marvels to be in your hands, they must first be manufactured, which takes quite a few very rare resources. Once again, Brian Roehrig of the American Chemical Society amazes us with the fact that of the 83 stable elements, non-radioactive, on the periodic table, 70 of them can be found in the average smartphone. 70 of the 80, that's remarkable. And one of these elements is indium. NelsonMiller.com, a leading world leader in interface development, confirms that overlaying the glass screen is a layer of indium tin oxide, an electrically conductive material. This is the same conductor I mentioned earlier. Indium tin oxide is made of indium, tin, and oxygen. Indium is a rare earth element. We've got plenty of tin and lots of oxygen, But rare earth elements are particularly heavy metals that are found in very low quantities in the Earth's crust, hence the rarity in their name. The problem is that China has a monopoly on rare earth elements. Richard Mills of Mining.com informed us that as far back as 2010, China owned 53% of the world's rare earth element deposits, and they supplied 97% of the demand for rare earth elements. And the situation hasn't improved much since then. China still continues to supply 70 to 79% of the world's rare earth elements, in the words of June Dreyer of the Foreign Policy Research Institute in 2020. This monopoly has grown to such a problem, in fact, that the United States Department of Defense, yes, our own military, has begun spending to make sure America gets its fair share of these valuable minerals. According to Stu Magnuson of the Defense... National Defense Magazine informed us that in 2020, the Pentagon awarded Defense Production Act grants worth $9.6 million to MP Materials, a private mining company operating out of California. They also awarded Defense Production Act grants worth $2.3 million to TDA Magnetics, another private company. I imagine you weren't aware of these secret resource grabs taking place in our own backyard, and neither was I. But I'm glad someone is watching out for us. Our phones are very important to our daily lives. They're with us even now. Knowing how touchscreens function and the history behind them is key to understanding the modern action scenes taking place around us. Thank you for your time.